All right. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. Happy New Year 2025. And welcome to ATP Hour, ATP Live Monday. Oh my goodness. I'm still not yet back. All right, but it's good to be back. I hope you missed us. I know you missed us. Some of you have been sending us messages. I can post, I can ask any questions, even though we've already said we're going on break, but we are back. We are finally back. So you can post your questions, you can ask. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday like I did. We all need a break so that we can all rejuvenate and, be better able to serve you. And thank you to all our volunteers, moderators, everybody who serving ATP for 2025. So I want to say welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Whether you're on Instagram, on Facebook, or YouTube, you're all welcome. Olaita Emmanuel, compliments of the season to you. Happy New Year. Welcome to ATP Live Monday. We're glad to be back after, I think, about 2 weeks of break. Thank you so much. So let's just try and share the video and invite everybody to be here. As you're aware, for those who are used to ATP Live Monday, this is a 1 hour program where you get to ask any questions that you may have about the health of your children, and I will try my best to answer them in 1 hour. That's the time we have. But not to worry, if you are watching the repeats, like the after the live section, I also want to welcome you. You can say ask your question by going to our Facebook group, Ask the Paediatrician Facebook group, and you can post your questions there. So and we are always on the group from Mondays to Saturdays, and we try our best to answer your question. I'm trying to share the videos. Don't mind my getting distracted. So I'm just trying to share the videos to our group so that everybody can see me and they can hear me. And I also want to plead with you to just help me do the same. Share the video to your friends, your family, and then we can all start together. So for those who are new, ATP Live Monday is a program where you can ask any questions and I will answer them in 1 hour. If you have questions beyond the live section after 7 p.m. West African time, you can post your questions on our Ask the Pediatrician Facebook, and we will be there to also answer your questions. And that one you can post it any time of the day, Monday to Saturdays. Sundays we usually take a break so that we can relax and come back on Monday. So, and also we'll try our best to do more of our ATP hour webinar this year as well, by the grace of God. I've tried to get some of our doctors to prepare on the topics that have to do with their own area of specialty. So I'm just trying to share the videos now to all our groups, and then we can all start. So if you have any question about the health of your children, you can ask. You start by putting the age of the child, tell us what your concerns are, and tell us what you want us to address. Please try and always put the age of that child. It's so crucial that you put the age of the child in any question that you are posting, and try and keep it short and concise, and also try and ask very specific questions. Don't just give us information. Ask the questions that you want the pediatrician to address, because we try as much as possible not to guess your questions. So we try to focus on whatever you ask us. So welcome. 6 days already in 2025. It's already flying. Before you know it, we're back to 2026 again. But we're grateful to God for sparing our lives to see the new year. And I believe that it will be a healthy one for all of us and for all our children. That is our own passion on Ask the Pediatrician. We want to make sure that all children live and do not die from preventable causes. And that's what we do through our health programs, through our social media platforms, through our outside social media platforms, through our community medical outreaches. And drum roll, is going to be 10 years this year that Ask the Pediatricians has been providing this solution. So join us to celebrate our first decade in July. That will be, so just watch out for all our programs. We're going to be putting up, celebrating our 10th anniversary. But more or less, we'll continue to do what we've always done. So I think I've done all the sharing. Have I done all the pinning? Yes, I think I've done all that. And I guess I'm good to go. Let me just double check that it is pinned on the group. Yes, I think it is pinned. Then on the page as well. Then we can start. So start to ask your questions. Remember, we have just 1 hour to do this, so let's try and do it quickly. So start to ask your questions, and I'll also start to do the answering as soon as I start to see your questions. Okay, let me check my Instagram. Okay, Happy New Year, Major Heavens. Happy New Year to you. I'm happy that you are here today. That's one of our most consistent Instagram fan. Is that what they call it now? Yes. You're always showing up on Mondays. I don't take it for granted. Thank you. Happy New Year to you. And I hope you and your kids are doing well. Thank you. So no question yet on Instagram. Let me check on Facebook. All right. Thank you. Alaita. I wish you also the very best. Happy New Year. Okay, everybody is still giving me compliments and we're all greeting each other. Welcome to 2025. It's going to be absolutely a wonderful year for all of us and for all our children. They are going to be healthy and we're all going to do better this year by our children. Something should not follow us into 2025. I hope we have all left all the wrong practices, all the wrong habits when it comes to the health of our children, all the myths and all the tried old wife fables and stuff. I hope we have left them in 2025, in 2024 rather. So welcome to 2025, where we're going to do the right thing. So welcome everyone. Once again, let me warmly welcome you to 2025 and warmly welcome you to the very first episode of Atp Live Monday 2025. I am Gbemisola Boyede. I'm a pediatrician and I'm the CEO founder of Ask the Pediatricians Foundation. And we are here to support you in raising healthy children. And that's what we do online, offline. It's all about our children. Okay, I've got the first question. Alaita Emmanuel said there's a younger sister of yours who put to bed. Baby is 17 days. Baby is not changing in stature. Okay, what do you mean stature? Okay, usually for a 17-day-old baby, we don't expect much changes. Baby is still a very small baby, so we don't expect much changes. Actually, babies actually lose weight in the first 10 days of life. Yes, baby actually lose weight, and then after 2 weeks, so that's when they will now start to gain weight. So there's nothing wrong in baby not looking different at 17 days. So you just need to relax. Okay, I'm happy you've seen a doctor, they've done blood tests, baby is okay, mother is Asia. All right, so I'm sure I don't know who you saw. Most likely you didn't see a pediatrician, which is why it's good to always see a pediatrician, because if you have seen a pediatrician, they would have told you there's absolutely no reason to worry about a 17-day-old baby not changing any stature. We don't expect them to. So that is actually normal. Okay, so there's absolutely no need for all those blood tests, all this anxiety, and all that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this baby. All babies lose weight in the first 10 days of life. By the time they're about 14 days, then that's when they go back to their normal birth weights, okay? And then that is when they begin to gain weight. And then they usually gain weight about 30 grams a day, all right? And that is it. So just let the mother relax, because I'm concerned that all these unnecessary anxiety would have made the mother's breast milk to actually drop, which is actually not the best. And that become a vicious cycle, because now the baby actually begins to now experience your fears, whereas baby didn't have any issue before. So let the mother relax. Just breastfeed that baby. There's absolutely nothing to worry about. And then you can always check with a pediatrician, then they can monitor the way. All she needs to do is to just breastfeed that baby every 3 hours, and baby will be fine. All right. So next time, if you want to clarify, tell us the weights of the baby when baby was born. Tell us the current weights, and then we can tell you whether the baby's weight is going according to the plan. But first 2 weeks of life, absolutely no reason to worry. Instagram people, welcome. Violet, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I was actually wondering whether many people would have forgotten that there's ATP Live Monday. The fact that you all came first Monday, I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed that you've not forgotten ATP. Thank you so much for joining us. So, Laita Emmanuel, hope you are okay with the answer. Let me know whether you're still worried about this baby. This baby is absolutely okay, and there's absolutely nothing to worry about. All right, let's move on now to phenomenal. We're ready to apologies if I didn't pronounce the surname very well. Well, I'm sure I got phenomenal correctly. Happy New Year. This was my son Habgo score. 1 minute 5, okay, 5 minutes 7, 8 minutes 8 months ago when he was born. Complication about the rules. Severe asphyxia. That's not severe asphyxia. He sits on supported rows, but yet to crawl. Okay, so what is your question, Philomena? This is an example of what I always talk about: people giving information and not asking questions. So you need to ask specific questions. I think I can assume your question, but I'm not going to assume. So just tell me what your question exactly is, so that I will actually answer the question that you have, and I will not project my own thoughts. So that's just it. So if you're still listening, Philomena, just ask your questions and I will answer it. All right. Fola Mole Ganiya, compliment us. I really miss this group. Oh, we miss you too. Thank God you're back online. Yeah, we thank God that you're also back. We also thank God we are back. Thank you so much for missing us so much. That feels so good to hear that we are at least vital to some people's life. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you telling us that. So just keep watching. Hopefully, by the grace of God, we'll try and keep our ATP Monday consistent this year by the grace of God. All right, so let me go back. Since there's no question on Instagram yet, let me just go back and answer Phenomena's question if she's still here. All right, I'm not sure whether she's there. Okay, so number one, if you look at your child's HABGA scores, for those who don't know HABGA scores, don't worry yourself about the grammar. But basically, when a baby is born, there are methods by which we use to assess whether that baby needs help or not. Okay, so most babies when they are born, they come out crying, screaming, making noise, breathing, and we are happy. We always want the baby crying when they are born. It is not compulsory for them to cry, but at least they should be breathing spontaneously. Okay, because when the baby was in the womb, the baby is not breathing. Baby is breathing, but it's not necessary for the baby to breathe, because the mother supplies everything. The mother supplies oxygen. The mother supplies everything the baby needs in the womb. It's a perfect parasite through the placenta and umbilical cord. But immediately the baby is born, you know what we normally do is we cut that placenta off. We cut off the supply from the mother. So which means that the baby is now on his or our own. So, and the most important thing, number one, is for the baby to breathe, because baby needs oxygen. Oxygen is vital for the brain. Okay, the brain is one organ of the body that is so very fragile. The brain is not yet fully grown, it's not yet fully at its right size when the baby is born. So the brain is still developing, and the brain needs oxygen, the brain needs glucose, very essential for the brain. And if anything happened to the brain and the brain does not get oxygen within 5 minutes, the brain actually starts to die. Like it's the brain cells begin to die. So which means that when a baby is born, we have 5 minutes to make sure that the brain gets everything the brain needs. So the brain needs oxygen. All right. The brain needs everything. So if for any reason a baby does not start to breathe or to cry and get that oxygen into the blood and then into the brain, then the baby can suffer a brain damage within 5 minutes. Okay. So now the APGAR score is a way for the doctors to know whether that baby is breathing spontaneously, or do we need to help that baby so that the baby does not suffer a brain damage. Okay. So there are certain things we look at whether the baby is breathing, we look at the heart rate, we look at the color of the baby. So we look at all those things and we grade the baby 0 to 2, whether they are present or absent, or whether they are not good, and so we want it to be at least nothing less than 8. So if anything is less than 8, it means that baby needs help with some aspects. So we need to do some what we call resuscitation. So that's what that is all about. So if the APGAR score is between 0 to 3, that is a very, very low one. So we say that baby, and we usually do this at 1 minute, because usually it doesn't mean that we wait on the baby's 1 minute before we start to resuscitate. So usually when the baby is coming out, it's not breathing, we are doing everything we need to do. So, but at 1 minute, you expect that the baby would have picked up. So at 1 minute, you're using the APGAR score as a way to check whether whatever you have done has worked or not. So if the baby is still scoring like 5 at 1 minute, it means that baby still needs some help. It doesn't mean that the baby has severe birth asphyxia. It has to be 0 to 3 for it to be severe. 4 to 5 is moderate, and between 6 and 7 is mild. So that is what it means. So your baby APGAR score of 5 is actually moderate. It is not severe. That's number 1. Number 2, it is not the first minute APGAR that we're worried about, it's the 5 minutes APGAR. So the 1 minute is like I told you, the brain only starts to die after 5 minutes of no oxygen. So that 5 minutes is the most important information. So, and from what I can see, from your baby's 5 minutes is already up to 7. So that is nothing to worry about. That's almost, very mild. And so usually they should have gone ahead and do what they call it 10 minutes APGAR, because it's not yet normal at 5 minutes, and that will tell us. But if it's already 7, it has moved from moderate to mild, and that is not something to worry about. So I do not agree with the diagnosis of number 1, severe birth asphyxia for your baby. Number 2, severe birth asphyxia is not only based on APGAR scores, it's also based on other things. So a baby who has severe asphyxia will have other organ involvement. So the baby may have convulsion, may have other things that will help us to know that this baby has really suffered damage to the brain, at birth. But that is not the evidence that we're seeing here right now. All right, unless the APGAR scores themselves are not correct, because the APGAR scores is as correct as the person who did them. All right, but coming to your question, I just want to give you that background, and also to give other people who may be confused about what is all this APGAR scores. Just don't worry about that. So that's why I give you the background. So if your baby at 8 months is able to sit unsupported, that is normal. So I'm not worried about your child's development. Crawling, a lot of parents ask us questions about crawling, but you know what? Crawling is one of the most useless developmental milestones. We don't use it because some babies don't crawl. Some babies don't even crawl at all. So how do we know whether your baby is one of those that will not even crawl? So some babies don't crawl. So we don't worry about crawling. That is number 1, because some babies never crawl. Number 2, crawling is even a 9-month-old skill. Even for babies that will crawl, it's from 9 months they crawl. So I'm definitely not going to be worried about an 8-month-old who is not yet crawling. Number one, it is not yet time for the baby to crawl. Average baby crawls at 9 months. Number two, not every baby will crawl. Okay, so I think you are just anxious and worried, which is understandable because of what you've been told that your baby has birth asphyxia. So you're already worried that your baby may have developmental delays, and so you are over thinking every milestone. I don't think you need to. I think you should just relax and let the baby be. We only worry if baby is really, really delayed. So your baby is now not walking. For example, even when we say your baby should walk at 1 year, for example, I would still not be worried if your baby doesn't walk at 1 year. We will only be worried if the baby is not walking at 18 months. So we always give time and give gap for some babies being a little bit slower than normal, and which is still within normal anyway. So it is not every time we jump. Number one, it's not yet even time for you to be worrying about crawling. And even if your baby does not crawl at 9 months, I'm also not still going to worry about it. Maybe at 1 year, but then how do I know whether your baby is one of those babies that will never crawl anyway? So for me, for your baby, the most important milestone I'll be looking out for is the walking, and I will only worry at 18 months. So you can see, I'm trying to tell you that there is no basis for your worry and anxiety. So just let this baby be. I hope you understood the answers now so that we don't have to worry about it. All right, I think I have a question on Instagram that's about to disappear. So let me quickly answer that before he goes away. Somebody is saying, Miss Sumi, please, I'd like you to clarify these debates going on about not adding baby formula to PAP or periods for babies. Number one, I'm not aware of any debates going on. I'm not aware of any debates. I didn't get that memo, but thank you for letting me know, Miss Sumi. And now, number two, there should be no debates whatsoever about adding baby formula or not. Number one, we need to, which is why I always like to teach from principles, and that's why we do a lot of teaching beyond just answering questions. Mothers need to understand complementary feeding. I think most of our issues is lack of understanding of complementary feeding. What is complementary feeding? Complementary feeding means you start to give your baby other food to complement, to add. Complement means to add to something, and that something is breast milk. So for the first 6 months, all your baby needs is breast milk. After 6 months, your baby breast milk is no longer going to be enough, so you need to add other food, usually solid food, to the breast milk. That is the word where complementary feeding comes from. Okay, now when it comes to the food, there is no law about the food you need to give. All right, it is every food that you eat in your kitchen. You don't need to buy anything from the shops. So if you understand that, you will understand there's even no basis for any argument in the first place. Okay, your baby should still be on breast milk when you start complementary food. We are not replacing breast milk, we are only adding to breast milk. And as long as your baby is on breast milk, your baby does not need any formula. That is it. That is the answer to that question. Your baby does not need formula as long as you're breastfeeding that baby. Any other food you are giving to your baby, any other periods, your breast milk is still the milk. If you like, express it and add it to the pap or to the puree. If you like, give the breast milk and give the puree separately. It doesn't really matter. It's not compulsory for you to add formula. The issue of formula comes up because most mothers, immediately they get to that 6 months, it is like, praise God, I am free from the pediatricians. Let me leave breastfeeding and start giving other milk, which is actually the wrong approach. We don't want you to stop breastfeeding. We don't want you to replace breast milk with formula, which is always the issue, because I see a lot of mothers even actually thinking complementary feeding means they stop breast milk and they start giving formula. So people start asking questions like, oh, which milk formula should I buy now that my baby is 6 months old? I don't expect you to go and buy formula when your baby turns 6 months old. I expect you to ask, okay, what porridge should we give? How do we mix this potato, or is it rice? Is it millet? Which crayfish, or is it egg? Is it meat? How do I mix all the different food classes together? That's the question we should be asking. And these are all the food that you already have in your kitchen. What you need to be aware of is the quantity, the texture, and the frequency of feed, not to say I want to give formula or not formula. Formula is not even anywhere in the picture at all. The only time you need to give your baby milk is when you stop breastfeeding. And of course, your baby needs milk. Your baby needs milk for the first 5 years of their life, because there are certain things in milk that you can only get from milk, mostly our calcium, our vitamin D, and all that. So you need to give your baby milk, but it doesn't have to be formula. It can just be your breast milk. And that is actually what we recommend, which is why we say continue to breastfeed until your baby is at least 2 years old. Okay. But if you want to stop and you want to give formula, it's okay for you to give formula if you are not giving breast milk, but it's not necessary. It is not compulsory. So I think I'm going to do another teaching on complementary feeding, but for time's sake, I won't be able to go into all the details now. If you want to just do more detailed learning on that, go to our Facebook group. We have lots of videos on complementary feeding in the guide section, on our website, on everywhere. Just check complementary feeding on ATP, any of our platform, the podcast, the YouTube channel. You will get the detailed teaching on complementary feeding. So there's no basis for arguments. And complementary feeding is not about pap, it's not about periods, because I also get a lot of questions. Oh, my baby doesn't want to take pap. It is not written in the constitution. You don't have to give pap. So give the potato, give the yam porridge, give the rice pudding, whatever your baby wants to take. It's not compulsory baby has to take pap. So pap is just one possible cereal, like a carbohydrate source, but it should not really be the only thing your baby should be taking. So because that's another thing we do wrong. Most of us just give our babies pap and formula, end of story. That is not complementary feeding. That is a recipe for malnutrition. So we still need to get all that very, very clear. But don't worry, we'll do another teaching on complementary feeding and do a refresher hopefully very soon. Okay, I think I've answered that question. Okay, we've answered that question. She's Jane saying my baby of 2 months, birth weight is 4.8, birth weight is 3.2. Is the weight okay? The weight is okay. Keep breastfeeding exclusively. She's alive time, man. Okay, you are giving me the updates. The baby's weight at birth is 3 kilos. Baby lost 2.3. We expect baby to lose about 10%. What is 10% of 3? 10% of 3 is 0.3. Yeah, okay. So the baby's lost a little bit more than 10%. If I've lost 0.3, it should be about 2.7. But no worry, just let them keep breastfeeding the baby. That is the most important thing to do. Let the mother breastfeed that baby exclusively. And when people ask, for those who know, please don't get annoyed, but people ask me all the time, I'm exclusive breastfeeding, can I give water? And I'm like, so please, exclusive breastfeeding means breast milk only, no water, no formula, nothing else. So since then I always try to make sure I define what I mean, because I always make those assumptions, but now I don't. So this baby should only be given breast milk only, nothing else. And the breast milk should be done, at least every 2 to 3 hours. Constantly let the baby suck on the breast. The more the baby suck, the more the milk will flow. The more the baby is sucking, the more the baby will gain weight. So if your baby's weight is checked at 3 weeks, because baby is already 17 days or 4 weeks, if the weight is still not back to 3 or even beyond 3, then we may begin to worry whether there's something else going on. And actually for us as pediatricians, the first thing we do is to actually keep the baby with us and actually feed the baby, because sometimes mothers will tell us, I'm breastfeeding, I'm doing this. So we are not sure, what you're doing. So sometimes we just keep the baby with us. We actually measure the amount of breast milk you're giving the baby. So we are sure the baby is actually getting enough breast milk. So if we are sure the baby is getting enough breast milk and the baby is still not gaining weight, then we now start to look for any medical issues, any heart condition, any breathing problems, anything in the lungs, any medical issues that could explain why the baby is not gaining weight. That's when we now begin to look for all that. So the first thing first is to go and make sure that this baby is getting enough breast milk. We can recheck the weight again, and then we can take it off from there. All right. Oluchi saying, when the newborn begin to see clearly? They can see from the day they were born. Oh. Yes, they can see from birth. Babies can see from birth, but they are short sighted, so they can't see too far. But they can see enough to see the breast milk, okay? So they can see your face, they can see the breast, and they can go for the breast. So babies can see from the day they were born. All right. So don't take them for granted. All right. So why do baby get to cry? I think I've answered your questions. Yeah. Phenomena, I believe I've answered your question. I think I really took enough time to answer you. I hope you heard it. If not, you can watch the recording again and then we'll be able to see my detailed answer. All right. On Inta, say good evening, doc. My baby is 5 months with birth weight of 2.5 kilos. Current weight is 6.5. Not too bad. Yeah, it's okay. For the past 1 day, it has been passing yellowish watery stool. It doesn't zip into his diaper. Through a large quantity of breast milk after feeding. It's on exclusive breastfeeding. Although he had formula after birth, took him to the hospital. They recommended abdominal scan. I'm not sure why. We showed decreased peristalsis. He was placed on cefuroxime antibiotics. Okay, the question is so long, it has been cut off by Facebook. I can't see the rest of your question. Anyway, but the question is that you have been to your doctors. I'm not really sure why we're doing abdominal scan in a child who has vomiting and who is having what look like watery stool. I'm not even sure whether it's watery stool because it says it's not sinking into the diaper. Okay, that's what you want to write, sinking into the diaper. So your baby is vomiting. How many times has baby vomited? Did you tell us how many times? I really need to know that number of times. I will not run to do abdominal scan first for a child who is vomiting. And is the child having fever? You know, the other question we are going to ask first. I'm not sure whether your child has diarrhea because you say it's just the stool is not sinking into the diaper, and you didn't tell us how many times has the baby passed. So if you are listening to me on them, I want to know how many times has the child vomited, how many times has the child passed the watery stool in a day. Is baby able to take the breast milk without vomiting? At other times. So we need those kind of information first. That's the most important thing to know. I don't think the baby needs to be having abdominal scan and all that. The scan is as good as the person who does the scan. That's another thing. Is as good as the person who does the scan. So it's not in Nigeria, everybody is doing scans, so it's not everybody that actually know what they're doing. So let's just leave it at that. All right. Okay. Phenomena, I think we've gotten the gist of your question and we've answered it. So yeah, you have prolonged labor. Your baby needed to be resuscitated, but your baby is fine now. We're not worried about your baby. That's the summary of the answer. All right. I did dodge say so Milayo. Good evening, doc. Thanks for all you do. Thank you. I'm concerned about my son who is 2 years old. He's not yet talking. Only say amen, hallelujah once in a while. And please, what's wrong? That is speech delay. The child's speech is delayed. Yes. The child needs to see a speech therapist first. Or there are other number one, there could be just the speech delay, and that's just the only thing. But sometimes some children may also have early signs of autism. So it's really because you said the child is not answering you, it doesn't repeat after you. Is the child using gestures? Is the child using high contact? If you go on our our Facebook group, we have a link to what we call screening, where you can do the MCHAT screening. MCHAT is modified checklist for autism in toddlers. You can also just Google MCHAT. It will come up. You can do it. You can answer. It's about 20 questions. If you answer the 20 questions, they will give you a score. Just be honest. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just what is happening so that we will know what to do next. Because sometimes parents take these questions as if it's an exam or a jam and they don't want their child to fail. No. When you're answering those kind of questions, we just want to know what is wrong and what to do. It doesn't mean It's neither pass or fail. It's just to know what is wrong. So if the child is scoring above 8, we'll be worried the child needs an autism assessment. If it's scoring less than 2, we are not worried. That means the child most likely just has speech delay. But remember, it is what you put in that you get out. I always tell parents that, because sometimes parents put in good stuff, then they are worried that we said there's something wrong with the child. This is what you put in that what you get, because you are the one answering the question, not us. So you can also do that screening. But in the interim, you can see a speech therapist, because a 2-year-old should be combining at least 2 words together. A 2-year-old should be speaking phrases and short sentences. So if the child is only having 3 words, that is speech delay, and we need to know. So some children may just be having a little bit of speech delay and then they will catch up later. Some children may be having early signs of autism, and we need to do the autism assessment. Or it could be part of what we call global developmental impairment. So it could be anything. We're not sure. But if it's just only speech delay, then just the speech therapist will do. If there is other issue, behavior issues, sensory issues, then the child may need to see a developmental pediatrician, community pediatrician, depending on where you live, depending on what they call it in your area. But basically, a pediatrician will assess children for things like autism, developmental impairments, and stuff. And then we can tell you what to do from there on. So that's just the advice for that. Let me know if that is clear, or if you want any further clarification. Goodness, Ifunaya, good evening, Doc. Please, aside the use of paracetamol and ibuprofen, is there any other syrup recommendable for teething in babies? None. Even the one you mentioned is not recommended. We don't give babies anything for teething. We don't give them paracetamol for teething. We don't give them ibuprofen for teething, because you already made that assumption, and people are reading it all over the world. So I need to correct that. Teething is a normal thing for babies to do. The same way it is normal for them to sit, for them to walk, for them to crawl, for them to, grow up. It is the same way it is normal for babies to have teeth. Teething is not a disease, it's not a problem, it's a normal thing for babies. So we don't need to medicate babies for teething, okay? We don't need to give them anything, including all that you've listed, which I will not dignify by mentioning them. Please don't give your babies teething mixtures, teething powder, teething whatever. Don't give any. The only time you're allowed to give even paracetamol is if your baby is having fever. And when your baby has fever, please don't assume it is teething. Okay, there are 1,001 reasons why a baby can have fever. The baby may have fever because they are sick. It is not the teething, okay? And so, because if you assume it's teething, you're not going to seek the right help. So your baby has fever, get your thermometer, put it in the mouth, put it in the armpits, put it in whatever, even if it's just the all these infrared one too. Just measure the temperature first. Temperature, normal temperature is 36.5 to 37.5. Anything above 37.5 is fever. If it is fever, give paracetamol. You can work out the dose. It's always written on the the bottle somewhere. You can repeat it after 6 hours. You can check the temperature again. If temperature is not going down, temperature is very high, 39 and above, please take that child to the hospital. Don't say it is teething. Teething does not make a child to have fever, okay? Maybe it can be a little bit warm when they are teething, but it doesn't get to fever level. That's why I gave you the figures for fever level. So don't even assume it's teething, okay? So one of the things we should not do in 2025 is to give our children teething powder. No Baby Rex, no Bona Babe, no Pecan, no Bomoro, none of them, please. None of them should be given to children. Teething is a normal thing for babies to do, and it doesn't make them to be sick. If your child is sick, please do not assume it is teething. Please take that child to the hospital for proper treatment. I don't want to start the new year with all that, but we've had enough issues. Go and read about my Pekin. Just Google my Pekin. My Pekin is one of those teething mixture that people were giving to the babies, and we end up having children's kidney failing. It was something we went through a few years ago in Nigeria. So we don't want those kind of scenario for something that baby should not even be taking in the first place. So don't give teething mixture. Just leave baby alone. If there's anything with the baby, don't assume teething, go to the hospital. I hope that's helpful. All right. Okay, let's move on. Ujunwa, thank you, doc. I have a doctor who is 9 year plus, but see bed weights. What can I do? Yeah. Bed weighting. Um, Usually we give children up to the age of 5 years for them to stop bedwetting. So before 5 years, we don't even call it bedwetting. It's just normal. Okay, but after 5 years, if a child is still bedwetting, we worry about it and we need to know why. There are three possible mechanisms for it. Number one, some children make a lot of urine. They produce a lot of urine, so much. So that's why they wet. Some children sleep too deep. So even when it is time for them to wake up, they can't wake up to go and use the toilet, so the bed wet. Also, some children may have what we call small bladder. The bladder is so small or very irritable, any little thing in it, and they will start bedwetting. Of course, we also make sure the child is not constipated, because when the bladder and the bladder is where the urine is stored, the rectum is where the feces or stools are stored. They are just in front of each other. So if there's too much of feces in a child who is constipated, it will press on the bladder, and that means there'll be very little space for urine to store in the bladder, and that would be the reason why some children tend to bedwet as well, because they don't have enough space to accommodate the urine. As it's coming, he has to go out. So one of the first things we do for a child who is having bedwetting is to make sure they are not constipated. Make sure they are taking a lot of food, food that are rich in fiber, fruits especially. Make sure they drink a lot of water. I know it may sound contradictory, but actually when children are bedwetting, we actually want them to drink a lot of water during the day. We want them to drink a lot of water during the day so that they will move their bowel, they won't be constipated, and then they also get used to the bladder system, so they know when they are full, they know when to go. So we want them to drink a lot of water during the day, no scotch, no all these fizzy drinks, all these things that we give our children, all these bottle juices and all that. You should actually stay away from them, including milk. You want them to drink just more of plain water during the day, and make sure they are going to toilets as well. And then once it's about 7 p.m., you don't want to give them any water again. And then before they go to bed, make sure they go and wee again. And sometimes some people encourage you to do double voiding. So when they go to bed, maybe around 7, 8, they can wee. When you are going to bed, maybe around 9, 10, most parents stay longer, you can wake them up again to go and pee. So, and that may just be all you need to do, and bedwetting will be over. There are other things for babies, for children that sleep deeply. We use what we call bedwetting alarms. You can buy them on Amazon. The advantage of bedwetting alarms is that once the urine starts to come, it will just trigger off some vibration or some sounds, and then the child will wake up and hopefully go and pee. Of course, you have to do all these things consistently. Most of the problem with parents that we always want a quick fix. There's no quick fix. We have to do it every day. It takes about 3 weeks sometimes to get into an habit, and the child. So sometimes just doing all that I've said will take care of the bedwetting, but for some children that will not be enough, and we now need to treat them. So we actually can treat bedwetting with medication. So there are medications we give that will reduce the amount of urine the child is producing. We use that method for children that makes a lot of urine. So they have a very low level of what we call the antidiuretic hormone. The antidiuretic hormone is the hormone that makes sure that when the water going through our body, most of it is reabsorbed, so that only very little gets into the bladder. So, but for children who have low level of it, they will bedwet because all the water is just going through. So we have the medication, that hormone. We can give them that hormone as a medication called desmopressin, and it will reduce the amount of urine the child is producing, and that may also take care of the bedwetting. So those are the things that we can do for the child. So if you have done all the regular thing that doesn't require medication, and your child is still bedwetting, and you're worried about it because it can actually be psychologically traumatizing for the children as well. They can't go for sleep outs or sleepover and things like that. And as they're getting older, around the age of 9, 10, they are becoming self-conscious about it, and we don't want them to be traumatized. We don't want to be psychologically affected, so we need to treat bedwetting. So at that point, you can see your pediatrician. You can see a pediatric nephrologist if you are in Nigeria. In some places, community pediatricians will do it. In some places, even the nurses can do it. But you can see a pediatrician for help after you've done all the right things, because even if you come to us for medication, you still have to do all the other things. They make sure they are drinking a lot of water, make sure they are not constipated, make sure they are doing all the usual things. You still have to do all those ones. It's only after that we're going to add the medication. Not like medication is going to fix everything. No, it's not. I hope that is helpful. All right, my time is running fast. Let me just go to the next question. Baby vomits after every feeding. Okay. 2, 6 to 8 times a day. Okay. If the baby is vomiting after every feeding, I will be worried about that. I'll be worried about that. And so if your child is with the pediatrician right now, they should be answering the question why. So the most important thing for us to rule out is that the child does not have what we call pyloric stenosis, that there's nothing contracting or not making the food to flow through, which is what we're worried about. Otherwise, any other thing else will be taken care of. It's usually very unusual for people to be vomiting so often for breast milk and all that. So if your baby is on exclusive breastfeeding and baby is not otherwise ill, the baby is not having fever and all that, that's very unusual. But anyway, the good news is that you're with a pediatrician. So I will hand it over to my colleagues to finish it up for you. That's my most important thing, that you have to make sure that child doesn't have pyloric stenosis, because what struck me in your question is that this baby is vomiting a large amount of breast milk. Babies vomiting a large amount of breast milk after every feed, we must rule out pyloric stenosis. So that is the most important thing, because that is a surgery. It is not medication. That child will need operation to correct that pyloric stenosis. But if they've done that and that is not there, every other thing else is a matter of time to settle. But we have to make sure this child does not have any obstruction of the opening of the stomach into the intestine. That is the most important thing to rule out for the age of your baby who is vomiting a lot of large quantity of breast milk. So talk to your pediatrician about that, and if they told you that they rule it out, all well and good, and then they will be telling you what else to do. All right, so that's my own. I'm not sure what they mean by the digestive process is slow. I'm not sure there's anything like that, to be honest. So usually when children are sick, they can be vomiting, and usually once you treat the underlying illness, everything else go back to normal. But I'm not particularly sure. But what I said is the most important thing for me as a pediatrician, if I'm the one treating your baby, is to rule out pyloric stenosis. That is the most important thing to rule out. All right. He also puts his hand in his mouth. Putting his hand in his mouth is a normal thing for babies to do at this age. Everything goes into their mouth at 5 months old. There's something wrong with that. The only thing you need to make sure is that you wash the hands. It is clean, so that they don't put their hand in their diaper and put it in their mouth. Of course, they're going to introduce germs. So just make sure you're washing their hands. But putting hands in the mouth is perfectly normal for a 5-month-old. We're not worried about that. All right. This question is long ago. Fola Moleganiat. My question is, does seeing menstruation makes a baby refuse breast milk? No, it doesn't. That is old wives' fables. We don't need to carry that one into 2025. What happens to you? Seeing your periods or not seeing your period has nothing to do with your baby. Whether baby will suck or not suck, absolutely nothing to do with the baby. Because my baby always more refused breast milk since I started your period. It has nothing to do with your period. You can trust me on that. She will only suck at midnight when she wakes up. What's most likely happened with you is because of the timing that you mentioned, is because you started giving your baby complementary feeds. Some of us mothers, when we start complementary feeds, whether consciously or unconsciously, we actually start to wean the babies. You are the one doing it. You may not do it intentionally, but you do it all the same, because you begin to give them too much of the complementary feed. So you give them the complementary feed. I see mothers giving the pap every 3 hours, giving the cereal every 3 or 4 hours. When would the baby have time for breast milk? So and then you give them loads and loads of quantity of it. So where would the baby need breast milk? So the only time baby is needing breast milk now is only at night, because that's the only time you're not giving them all the complementary feeds. So the way you describe your scenario, that is just what I know is happening, because it's a very typical scenario. So this baby is getting too much of complementary feeds during the day, then the baby doesn't need any other thing. And babies are not, most of them anyway, they are not gluten, so they just take what they need. So if you already fill their tummy with all the carbs, all the cereals, then why would the baby want to suck? So you need to be conscious that you are giving the, the quantity. So when we start complementary feeds, we need to understand that complementary feed is not a replacement for breast milk. I keep emphasizing that, but many mothers, we also don't get it, because some of us, because we're breastfeeding our babies every 3 hours, then we also assume that the cereal should also be every 3 hours. No, the cereal is not every 3 hours. So because we expect you to keep breastfeeding. In fact, for your babies for the first 6 months, 6 to 8 months, the breast milk is still going to be like 80% of that baby's food. The only thing you're only going to add is 2 extra meals of solid, just 2, not 3, 4, 5. No, just 2. But some of us will give them the other things every 3 hours, every 4 hours. There'll be no space for breast milk now. So please don't wean the baby when you start complementary feeds. Make sure the fact that your period is also starting is also a sign that you actually have reduced your breastfeeding as well, because I can actually work out all the physiology going on here. Because when you start seeing your period, it's also a sign that you actually have reduced your breastfeeding. Because when you breastfeed, the longer you're breastfeeding, you may actually not see your period. But once you start complementary feeding, you start reducing your breastfeeding, then your period is going to come back as well. And also, so it has nothing to do with the baby at all. It is actually to do with you yourself. So try and make sure you're not giving too much of the complementary feeds during the daytime. For an 8-month-old, baby just need maybe 3 meals a day, 3 altogether. All the rest should be breast milk. And give variety. Don't give too much volume of pap. The baby, I think I should get a cup and bring it next time. The baby should not be taking more than, a 8-month-old baby should not be taking more than half a cup of of complementary feed at a time, and that is 3 times a day, and then the rest should be breast milk. So you just need to make sure, reduce the amount of the complementary feed and do the breastfeeding more. So there's a amount you need to give, there's a frequency you need to give. We have all that on our complementary feeding guide, so I think you should go through that and make sure you're actually doing the right thing. But I can just reassure you that it has nothing to do with your menstruation at all. That has nothing to do with it at all. So Fola Mole Ghanaians, I hope you're still with me, and I hope you quickly got that. So just make sure you're doing the right quantity, the right frequency, and the right volume of feed, and your baby will be fine. It's very important, because this is how we start to win our babies. And some of us will not say, oh, maybe stop breastfeeding at 8 months, maybe stop breastfeeding at 9 months. We win the baby whether we like it or not. And it wasn't intentional, but that's actually what we've done. Please, we don't want babies to be weaned at 9 months. They still need their breast milk. We want them to be breastfeeding to 2 years minimum. Okay, if you don't want to do 2 years, at least do 1 year minimum. Do 1 year minimum. But the textbook says WHO pediatricians want you to do 2 years, because you see, apart from the food part of breast milk, the protection part of breast milk is very important. And I think that is what most of us mothers sometimes we don't get. We need our babies to be protected from germs and all that. And you have a lot of this protection as a mother, because you've lived longer on this planet. So you have all those protection in your body. When you breastfeed your baby, you pass it on to your baby. So you are not just passing food to the baby in breast milk, you are passing antibodies, protective agents to your baby. So if you see from that perspective, you will understand why pediatricians want you to breastfeed your baby. So we want you to breastfeed your baby because we want you to pass those protective agents to the baby. So it's not just because we want to punish you or all that. It's because we want the babies to actually be protected. So I hope Ghanaians got that. So just reduce the amount of food. I'm happy your baby is eating well. Actually, that is the genesis. Baby is eating too well, too much, and the baby doesn't feel like it needs breast milk. So for you, you may actually want to start your baby's feeding first by breastfeeding before you now give the other food. So the baby has enough of the breast milk before the baby will now get to the other food. But if your baby is already full with the other food, then maybe you don't want to take the breast milk. So it's just common sense. The baby is doing common sense. But I want the baby to still take more of the breast milk and not just the complementary food. Okay, last question from Instagram, Bumi Debbie. My 3 months old baby suck on his finger. That is normal. To the point that he rejects food and would prefer to suck on his finger. Oh, yeah, sorry. So what normally happens is, I don't want to blame you, mother, but most times we consciously or unconsciously toss the babies to do all these things, because when your baby cries for food, if you don't get to them on time, in fact, by the time baby is crying for food, it's already late. It means the baby has been giving us signs. Baby have what we call feeding cues. And sometimes mothers, we are busy, we don't pick up on the feeding cues. So when babies wake up, they want to feed, they start putting their hands around their mouths, they start doing that. They are telling you, I want to eat. So if you don't pick on it at that time, the baby will find a solution. And usually the solution they find is to put their arm in their mouth and they start to suck on it. So, which is not the best, but it's the baby's solution. So the way to get rid of it is to make sure that you are very attentive to your baby's feeding cues. You put them to the breast. When they start opening their mouth, looking for the breast, you take them and put them to the breast. Okay, so that is the solution. And now the baby has now discovered that I don't need this mommy again. I can actually suck on my finger. It will give me the same pleasure, satisfaction. So it's a good thing that babies usually outgrow the habit. It has become an habit now. So maybe use this as an habit. It's an habit that they use to comfort themselves, to soothe themselves, which actually we don't want them to be doing that. We want them to be, want them to get the soothing and the comfort from their mother, from the breastfeeding and all that. But unfortunately, the baby has developed the habits, but the good news is that they can also outgrow the habits. So don't have to worry about it. But just make sure at least you are feeding your baby. I'm happy with the baby's weight. Baby's weight is 6.5. That is quite good. I don't know whether you're doing exclusive breastfeeding or just formula as well. But 6.5 is good. Actually more than what we expect for a 3-month-old. But we recommend exclusive breastfeeding anyway. So just try and make sure you are feeding the baby, and you can wear like mittens or things on the baby's hand to kind of discourage the baby from putting it in their mouth. It doesn't always work, but you can try. But the good news is that most of them will stop with time, and sometimes you can give them something else to hold in their hands to put in their mouth rather than their own hands and all that. But it's something babies will outgrow. Don't worry, don't panic about it. All right, so we've got 3 minutes to go. Thank you so much. In fact, I'm really impressed. So many of us came for this first ATP Live Monday. Thank you so much. Thank you to those of you who have given us a lovely feedback. You missed us. We missed you too. I almost said maybe we should not do today's zone, but I'm like, oh, ATP people have missed us so much. I've missed them as well. Like, just try and do it. So thank you so much for joining us. First Monday, first ATP Live for 2025. If you still have any questions, like I said, not to worry, even though we are going off now, you can always go to Ask the Paediatrician Facebook group. Ask your questions. Give us a little bit of time to answer your questions. Please don't be impatient with us, because all of us are volunteers. We all have our day jobs. So be patient with us, but we will answer your question. We promise to try and answer your questions within 48 hours. There are some questions that are straightforward. Our moderators can easily answer that. That's our non-medical colleagues. Whereas there are some questions that only us pediatricians will have to answer, because nobody has answered it before. So for those kind of questions, you have to be patient until we have a pediatrician come online to do it. But if your child is sick, please don't waits on us, go to the hospital. In 2024, let's normalize going to the hospital. That is where you're going to see most of us. We're always in the hospital. So normalize going to the hospital to see us. We'll be there to see your children. I pray that none of our children will be sick. That is why we do what we do. We want to teach us how to do the right thing so that the children will not be sick. But once in a while, we can't control all the everything. The children go out, they play with germs, so sometimes they get bitten by mosquitoes. By the way, good news, malaria vaccine is now in Nigeria. Malaria vaccine is now in Nigeria. Watch out for it. Obviously, we are going to give the younger babies first. You're not going to get it as the adults, so don't worry. We're going to give our babies first so that protects them. So just watch out. We'll let you know more about malaria vaccine very soon. But so if the children are sick, I know you are doing all the best, but please take them to the hospital. If you come to us on time, God will help us. But if you come to us too late, we are not oracles, we are not superheroes. God is just helping us. So you have to come to us on time so that we can use our little wisdom to do what we can do. But the earlier, the better. Children are so fragile; they can go up and down so quickly, unlike adults, so they don't have so much reserve. So that is why we want you to come to us on time. So we'll continue our teaching this year by the grace of God. I hope I'm more consistent, and some of my colleagues are also preaching in as well. So watch out for us on Thursday. I think we're going to be taking a topic on the eyes. One of our ophthalmologists has done a beautiful presentation. So if you want to know about eye size and child size, lung size, when to go see the doctor, refractive errors, just watch out for that on Thursday. All right. Till then, have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful year. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next Monday, God willing. But before then, remember to join us on Thursday for ATP Hour. Have a wonderful evening. Bye. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye from me.